So how are you doing?
Oh, doing good, brother. Just thinking about what's going to happen over the next little while with business and such. There's a lot of small points of conversation, big points of conversation, right? Because we're in obviously the elephant in the room is this whole COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic situation that's happening all across in the last few days, especially in Toronto at the very least. It's come to a forefront. You've really started to see all the businesses close. Um, the last holdout of coffee shops is closed. They went from, okay, we're just gonna sell things through the window, to only tapping, no cash, to we're closed. So you can
Wow.
see and that's like daily, like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, like things have changed at a very rapid rate. Like we just walked to the local McDonald's right here, and that was literally the only thing open. A couple construction guys working on a project. Funny enough, a lot of the internet people are out because a lot of the communities are seeing shortages from overload. The network
Really?
systems have, yeah, a lot of blackouts right now on the internet, 2 3 hour windows with, especially with Rogers is having a tough time keeping up with the demand within their 5 system. So
Wow, I haven't heard that. I mean, that might be
yeah,
is that a Canadian problem?
well, we have a lot of like smart Asians, right? So they're on online more so than in America.
Yeah, they're sucking all the juice.
Sucking all the data, Pornhub, Asian guy, white girlfriend has been trolling at the top of the list for. If you check it right now, it's way up there, man. So
Man. So
that's the truth, actually, though. Yeah.
how are you handling it? Like what kind of pivots are you making? Are you able
Well,
to see clients or
yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off because I was a little excited to answer that question. Only because like my assistant and I have been talking about it for most of the morning. In terms of like structurally what do you do, what are other businesses doing. So we've seen the same thing in other businesses where they said, everyone's sent out a little bulletin, hey, we're still operating. Obviously, we're taking precautions as necessary. So you got to look at things from a small retailer business and a big retailer business in our industry. So big retail is like the Nordstrom, this, that.
yeah.
I can't speak on what their experience, but smaller individual or small team selling companies, 18th Amendment, myself, anything that's small boutique atelier, um, we've seen them say the same, like, okay, we're going to be open, okay, we're doing this. And now some are saying, okay, we're going to close
Right.
for the time being because of that. And I'm not judging the fear or the paranoia or anything like that. We should all take care of ourselves as best as possible and do what we feel is in the best interest of our health and safety for ourselves and our families and loved ones.
Right.
So
Right.
we've actually been discussing, because one of the big things is how long will this last?
Right.
And when you're talking about discretionary spending, which luxury is in most cases, half the people don't want to spend right now, regardless of what changes you make to your selling environment, selling process, etc. Like we're talking about FaceTime, teleconferencing, purchasing, and there are arguments as to whether or not that works or not, etc. We won't. I don't want to get into that because
Yeah.
you can think for yourself what the problems may be or the benefits may be.
Yeah.
But people right now, with how everything has changed so fast, the argument that's come up for me is, well, we sell not clothes, but we sell a story. And right now, we can't tell you what the story is going to be. Oh, you want to make that awesome linen, you want to have those lightweight summer jackets? Well, where are you going to wear it? If
Right.
you make it, where are you going to wear it? And when
Right.
people have to question where they're going to wear it, the story isn't as strong, and then it starts affecting their questioning of how much of that discretionary spending I want to use for something that I may not be able to use.
Right. Right. Yeah, to me, like we've always been a content first business, and I think that's the opportunity for us right now. It's like, can you build your following, regardless if people are buying or not? There's people that are
Yeah,
interested. I mean, you're an interesting guy, right? Like,
yeah, yeah,
and we need uplifting messages right now,
yeah.
and we are isolated and lonely and on our phone looking for people to interact with. So that's exactly why I'm calling you right now, right? It's like we all have this downtime and we're all looking for like content from hopefully from people with some type of uplifting, inspirational message, right? So with that said,
Absolutely.
like I don't want to talk about COVID-19 anymore. I mean, fuck, that's all we hear about all the time on the news. I
I'm with
want
you 100.
I want to talk about you, right? I think the most interesting stories are the human ones, especially entrepreneurs creating their own brand, doing their own thing. That's inspiring to guys, right? So tell us about you and your journey, like from the beginning. Where did you grow up? How did you get into menswear? All of it.
Well, I mean, I'll give you like a condensed, but kind
Sure,
of
sure. Yeah, yeah.
explanatory version, right?
This is
Um,
casual, and whatever you
yeah,
want to
yeah,
share.
for sure. And speaking to the camera, speaking to people, I just want you guys to know, like, I'm speaking to Dan. So meaning I'm just speaking directly to him as my friend. Most people don't know, like, I've known Dan for a long time in this industry. We haven't always been as close until recently. And at the same time, if I don't see Dan forever and my flight lands in New York, he's the first person to say, "Yo, where you at?" Right?
I
I'm
love it,
there.
dude. Yeah, absolutely,
So
man.
let that be said about how I'm going to speak and whatnot. But I've always grown up around clothing my entire life. And a lot of people will say they love fashion and they love clothes. Then they meet someone like me and they realize, wow, that is love. Like from collecting, hoarding, buying, sharing, trying, experiencing, and being exposed to so much fashion from, so much clothes as a young age. Now, I always say there's a difference between clothes and fashion. So, we'll get into that differentiation. But when I first came to Canada, I was really poor, refugee in 83, 84. And my father was quite the MacGyver. You guys can look that up on Wiki if you don't know what being a MacGyver is.
My
Because I'm
audience is
40.
not that young, man. Come
Yeah,
on.
yeah. So most people don't realize I'm 40 now. So big 40 in October. Didn't announce it. I really hope to do something special, but that
Wait,
didn't
last
happen.
October you turned 40?
Yeah, just this past October. So
Congrats.
I'm
Hey, you look
40 in a
good,
few
man.
months, yo. Um, yeah, and my dad, we were raised in the church. My dad founded Cambodian Christian Center in '84 to help bring a lot of the people that he rescued in Cambodia during the Khmer Rouge to Canada. With that said, we were given donations every day, week of the best Goodwill stuff that the church would bring to us to help those other parishioners. And this may sound racially insensitive, but Cambodians are short. And my dad would do a lot of alterations to make the clothes fit. He'd have a little sewing machine that he still has in his office now, 40 something years later, 30 something years later. And he did alterations for everyone from hemming, pants, sewing. But what he always did was he picked the best stuff for us, helped everyone else, and he always told us this one important message. Even if you don't look the part, like I'm brown, da da da, even if you don't sound the part, I went to ESL for 3 years. You can look the part in terms of how you dress, how you carry yourself.
Wow.
And that was kind of like, at that time, I didn't realize how much of an influence that was. But looking back, every birthday I was in a tuxedo, every picture day at school, I was in a suit. I would get ridiculed, laughed at, but that prepared me for the ridicule and laughter in high school
Right.
and into university. Because when you're dressing the way you want, and some people will say, "Oh, you're a trendsetter," but at that time, you were just dressing the way you want. Um, Anytime someone laughs at you, in between 6 months and a year, your shit's gonna be the hot take, right? So that was always my flaw. You can laugh at me now, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna make sure I sell that to you at a good price when you're ready to rock my style. So, and that I think I was picked on a lot in high school because of my fashion, because of my desire to wear things like crazy. So,
You
a lot
have
of
always
people.
been very expressive.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the last couple years I've toned it down a bit, and that is more of a spiritual, psychological kind of journey. I'll elaborate on that a little more later if you want. But that's with anything, anyone that's creative, when they're riding the wave or on that crest, you do really well, and when you're not, you're trying to find your way again too. So we all, no matter how good you are, people think you're at the top of your game or this and that. We're all people and we experience these ebbs and flows of creativity in our own way. So, just like probably 3 weeks ago with my assistant, I said, screw this, man. I got a really good understanding of where I want to go directionally in my personal style this year. And then we went out to shop for those fabrics and those looks to create what I want to be looked at. So, that's part of the one's own personal journey
And how do you
on a
find
daily.
how do you find that? Like how do you get that inspiration, that idea? Like how did you know what it was going to be for you this season?
I mean, that's gonna be a little different for everyone. I talk about it in terms of like hits. So if things aren't, I gotta be feel really positive to to want to create. And positive things for me mean like being out in the forest, breathing that air, being in the countryside, getting more time just to do certain things for myself. Looking at books, traveling, going to stores, seeing what other people are doing, and then just being like, you know what? Screw it. Screw what anyone thinks. Like, because I'm always, we're always worried to a point about what others think, no matter how far up the chain you go. And I went through a bit of a life crisis for the last year and a half, and we're finally starting to come out of that. And then it's like you have a finite amount of space in your heart, in your mind, etc. And as you remove certain negative things out of that, you have emptiness that you can fill with creativity and happiness. So that's what it was for me. As that space started creating itself from within, I started finding ways to fill it in a simple way.
Yeah,
So,
I'd like to elaborate. I mean, do you find that hard times, I know this is true for me and a lot of people, that when you go through hard times in your personal life, it's hard to create, but when you get through them, you're then inspired to sort of reinvent yourself.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's like anything, right? It's like a pool getting drained of its water. It just has more capacity filled with more and new and fresh water.
Right, right,
So as you're being drained, just realize, you're just making room for new things.
right, right,
Obviously, you've got to go and find the hose and the water and whatnot and fill the pool again. But you can't fill a full pool.
right,
You have
right,
overflow.
right.
It's like I'm a
Uh,
dad now, so you get a lot of dad isms coming in. So
I know it.
like
I
you
know
can't
it.
fill a full pool. Wow, I really said that.
All right, so back to your story. So,
Yeah. So yeah, growing up, a lot of people don't know I was like I'm gonna be full right. You can judge me for it and whatnot, but I was connected to a really big crew that um, was able to get clothes in a very wrong way. I was able to
right,
sell it and
right,
make money on it, but I was exposed to everything. One of the biggest stories when I was growing up is like we grew up in an underprivileged area of the city, in Jane and Finch as it's known, and we didn't have a ton. I probably had a little more than others, but it was still not much by any standard. But crossing my high school to buy the same patty I did every day because I only had a couple dollars for lunch. I sat on the edge of the street one day and said, "You know what? I'm not leaving my house unless my outfit's $10,000." I said that. I still remember today. I'm standing there at 11:30, ready to buy a patty and a drink with my $2 and change, and I said to myself, "That that's it." So
that was the goal.
that was the goal. But I mean, and then it was like, so you start exploring. How do you provide? How do you get the clothes? How do you do this? What types of jobs that you need to do? You start working. But that was one of the things, and just being around it all the time. Like, you know what? I got a job at McDonald's on my birthday just so that every two weeks I could buy a pair of Jordans, Nikes, everything. Like every dollar was devoted to like swag, and by that time, you couldn't buy everything. So we started taking the train down to Chinatown here, and there was a little lady, little seamstress shop, and she started making our custom pants for us.
Uh
And
huh.
then that exposed us to little things like that, and
So that was your
just
first custom experience.
yeah, and they were called house pants, or like the wide bottom trousers. It was a trend towards the end of middle school, high school, so 13, 25 years ago, 26 years ago.
So
And
you're 13 years old buying Jordans and streetwear, and all of a sudden you say, you know what, I want custom pants
yeah,
because you couldn't
custom.
find what you wanted.
Well, big thighs, big calves,
You were a tough fit
five
too.
seven, 5'8". Inseam is probably like 32, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, it's just like
Your inseam is not 32, bro.
okay, whatever. My outseam.
Maybe outsee, maybe outsee.
Well, when they buy it, yeah, 32 outseam, 30, 32. Sorry, yeah. So I was at that time I was short too. I was 5'1", 5'2". I'm not much taller at 5'7" and a half, 5'8" now. But you figured, there's a way. It wasn't that expensive back then. It was like $35, $40.
for the
The
make.
equivalent is probably, yeah, for make. So it's probably like $60
And
Canadian.
you were
So
buying the fabric from fabric store or something?
yeah, so Toronto has a fashion district, Queen Street. All of Queen Street has a lot of fashion vendors, and we buy the. So guys would buy and have it made, and we'd rock out with a cardigan, big house pants, some air raids. Um,
This is high
just
school.
totally mixed. This is end of middle school, high school, and
Wow.
then I just went into a straight exploratory phase from there. I tried every day. I'd pick a genre. I'd be like, "Yo, I'm gonna be goth. I'm gonna be Parisian streetwear. I'm gonna be like Brooklyn 1940s." And if I didn't have the clothes, I'd go to Goodwill and find it.
How did you
And
know what that was? All those styles, like what? How,
library,
library.
library,
This
and
is
a photocopier.
pre-Instagram. This is before social.
Pre-Instagram, go to the library, right? Put some quarters in the machine, photocopy the picture, take it home, done. Put it all in a 3-ring binder, classify it.
Wow.
Simple.
Wow.
Simple.
I
As
mean,
much as you could find, photocopy it. And then just like, okay, like I have a screen cap of actually something I saw about black culture in the 40s and what the guy was wearing. I'm trying to replicate that look to the point where for the next season coming up, I might actually say collections based on time periods, cuts, styles, everything. So as fashion is evolving and everything, it's like, okay, look, we have a capsule collection for what 1940s should be, balanced, proportion, patterns, and we could mix it up with new age patterns and prints. But this is the aesthetic: 60s, 70s, 80s, like Miami Vice, low 1x1, double-breasted, strong shoulder, pink Lamborghini. Right?
I mean, that's interesting because you brought up 18th Amendment, and he's branding himself around a time period as well. I mean, that seems to be a big common theme between us kind of creative tailored guys is we look to history a lot.
Yeah, like if you don't know, if you don't study periods and if you don't study aesthetics, then you just don't know what you're selling. Like, you're just selling what your one manufacturer can make on your base stock garment size, and that's cool, right? A lot of people, it fits a certain genre, but I'm very blessed and privileged to be able to sell a wide variety of clientele, and from race to religion to height and size and to like desires in terms of their own aesthetics, and they pay me to be like creative, to express myself. And one of the big things is people like, why did you wear tiger pants back in the days, right? Was that because I wanted to see what the print would extrapolate to? And why do you wear such loud or bold, aggressive patterns? Because I want to know when I see a pattern on a swatch and what my mind thinks it's going to extrapolate to. And then I make it and says, okay, is my mind working correctly in terms of what it's seeing and what the outcome is? So put that into practice. You can quickly ascertain whether or not this swatch is going to work on this client based on your practicing of those projections.
Yeah, it's training.
It's training. So, and I've been training my whole life in that regard. That's why I have 6+ hundred pairs of shoes. You open any one of my closets in my place right now, there's at least 25 jackets in each one.
Wow.
We can walk right now and I'll show you. Like, you can go into any closet and there's 50 pairs of shoes in every closet. From like, I got a section for football, a section for golf.
I mean, I do want to see this. So at the end of this, before we wrap, I want to get a quick little tour.
Yeah.
Don't let me forget.
No problem. So, and that's how it came to be. And then, I was in university and my father got injured at work.
Where'd you go to school and what'd you study?
I went to York University. I had a hard time finishing high school because I just didn't like school. So all those that don't feel like they fit into the school environment, know there's hope, and it's not anything like you're stupid or dumb or this. You just might not fit into that, and that's cool, And if you fit into it and you like it, or you find a passion in school, amazing too. Like, so I just didn't fit in, and I finally said, you know what, screw it. I need to go to university to put a plaque on the wall and make my parents proud as immigrants. And so I was like, you know what, I'm wicked at writing. I love writing, so I majored in creative writing, in English.
Dude, you got to start contributing for us.
Yeah, that's actually my major.
I want one article a month. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, And I'm laughing because there's a funny paper that I submitted in my second year, but I'll tell you about that privately because it involved gravity and how gravity affects penis size and all this. But
Yeah, that's a for another time.
that's another time. But yeah, and then my father got injured at work. In my second year, he had a severe accident working in steel construction, and I needed to help support the family. So I started folding clothes at Old Navy when they first came to Canada. No simple retail job, and that kind of like re-exposed me to clothing once again. And then I moved my way up the corporate ladder, all the way to corporate, and helped bring a couple other companies to Canada within the retail spectrum. And then I left that world, not necessarily by choice at that time. And then I did a few bad things for several years and made a lot of money. And a friend of mine at the time decided to create a company in the clothing industry, and I supported that venture from the ground up day one. And in those first few years is when I met Dan, and one of the people I'm most grateful for, his colleague at that time, Alex,
Yeah,
Big Alex.
yeah.
And yeah, so I helped build a company from the ground up in the suiting environment, suiting world, and left that like about 5 years ago, and I work privately, independently now under August Ashley, which is the middle names of both my boys.
Nice.
So
So
yeah.
so what was that? So you worked for Bespoke Tailor in Toronto for what? Is it 5 years or so?
No, I worked for about 9 years. So
Wow.
my first 2 years, 3 years almost, I worked in the back room. I didn't have the confidence at that time to work in the front of house,
Wow.
nor was there really like an opening for me because it was small scale. The gentlemen that were already there basically had it covered, and and at that time you're probably like upset that you can't, but looking back in hindsight, you realize you probably weren't ready.
Right.
And that's why. So, I mean, I would sit in the back and with the tailors and sew 50 buttons every day. And then it became, hey, why are you stitching it like this? Or why can you do that quickly and that takes longer, and etc. And constantly. And then it's like, okay, I'm gonna pick up a needle, and I don't need to sew. I don't necessarily want to sew, but I always say, if you know enough about any topic to communicate in that realm, not to be an expert, just to be able to communicate, your connection with that person is that much stronger. That level of respect is that much better. So with all my staff and my tailoring companies and my tailoring people, they're like, yo, Socks, you know your stuff. So when you ask for something, they're more inclined to do it. And at the same time, you're also saying, you know what, guys, it's been a pressure packed week. We did a lot. Listen, I'm gonna grab some lunch for everybody. Take a little extra time off, etc. Because it's a give and take in this game, and having that kind of knowledge that I gained in those first few years really cements my ability to communicate with people, like tailoring, sewing staff, etc.
Right.
Experience in the sales side, same way when I teach selling and selling techniques and stuff like that. It's the same thing. If you don't need to be an expert uh, outside of what you want to be expert in, but I think you need to have enough knowledge to be able to communicate. So that's relatability,
Right.
etc. with people. So that's important.
So you're learning the craft in the back office, and then at some point you build the confidence to make the switch to front end, client facing sales. So talk to me about that change of lifestyle, that skill set now that you learned and needed as you became on the sales side.
Well, I mean, on the sales side, it was interesting because people always say when you're selling yourself. At that time, I actually had a sales coach. So the sales coach came from the automotive industry, and it was funny because a couple months ago I was looking at a new car, and the guy was selling me based on those sales coach tactics from. So I was like,
Like, this
man,
sounds
I'm
familiar.
reading this like I got you. Don't even. But anyways, it was like all the hard sell closing like statements, regrets, whatever to buy. But I realized, and I have a whole book like this thick written to sell from that perspective. So that perspective really helps when you're in mass sales, commercial sales, some high ticket sales like cars, because a lot of what they sell in cars is FOMO, or like fear of missing out on the deal or this and that. And luxury is not about FOMO.
Right. Right.
Unless someone calls you and says there's only 4 yards of this fabric available, so if you do want it, then yeah, that's
right.
Okay. That's a truth, right?
Right.
But outside of that, I would never say to use FOMO as a selling technique, but yeah, so you learn, and then what you learn from that is it really is about you. Um, from a front of house, from we're not even talking about fitting. Let's just say selling specifically. You've got to know like your craft. That we're saying like researching. Everything that you need to know about your garment or product you're providing. Knowing all your genres, design elements, things like when you craft a garment that has a smaller lapel versus a larger lapel. What is it saying about the garment? What is the stylistic place that it belongs in?
Right.
And does that product fit that client and what he's trying to achieve? Because as much as you're selling what you think is amazing, is it amazing for him or her?
Right.
Is it gonna give them the level of satisfaction, personal level of satisfaction, and the second part is like real satisfaction when people look at them, right?
Right. So it's people
really important.
Skills really. Like really needed to amp up that side.
Yeah, I think it's 90-10, meaning 90% of what it is to be able to work front of house, to sell, to manage relationships is people skills. 10%, and some will say 99-1. I say 10% because there's a lot of like actual personal skills, like even the ability to stand for 8 hours and talk to people, right?
Right.
Note taking, jargon, reading more so you can communicate on those levels. Reading, I read a lot of periodicals and journals and magazines in different income brackets. So and in different so I'll read some medical periodicals, I'll read some legal periodicals, journals, etc., etc. So I have enough to talk about in each area. So if my lawyer client comes in, I know that in Canada, if you get hit by a car, you're paying $32,000 to the government, even in the settlement that was released in 2016 as a payment to insurance. So if you settle for 10 grand, you're still paying the difference of the 32 grand. So you got to make sure, like things like that. So then they're like, oh shit, this guy knows it. Okay, so when he tells me that fabric is the one that works in that, if he's speaking in front of a judge or anything,
he knows.
He's done his research. He knows.
Wow, that's excellent. That's excellent. All right, so you're working for this other guy, this other shop, and then at some point you decide to break out on your own.
Yes.
What was that decision like, and how much more difficult, or how did it change, basically being an employee to being a business owner?
Well, at that time when I left the company, that wasn't a hard decision. Kind of like one of those writings on the wall, and it was time to go. Based on general, like, you grow, and when you grow, you become who you become, and sometimes the room isn't big enough for the tree, right? And so that was cool, but it was a very tough time in the sense that right after that, I tore my Achilles playing football, American football.
Oof.
I was on crutches, and I sold my first suit on crutches in my living room.
Hey, it won't stop you.
Yeah, it was like, and that was challenging because of the injury, because of not having a space yet, looking for vendors, suppliers, manufacturers, the whole shebang, while not being able to walk, while also starting a new relationship. Everything was like all at once. But one of the things I was talking about, and it's funny because I keep saying I was talking about, I really was just talking about a week ago with someone who's also going into this entrepreneurial place. So I donate quite a bit of time when I can to certain people that reach out to me, and I give them a little guidance solely based on my own experience. And we said, at that time, I reached out to my network of friends, my network of close individuals that I knew, and said, hey, I'm opening up this concept for myself. I would love your support and help if there's anything we can do. And something as simple as like my corporate lawyer, we're all a member of this small group of friends within a car community. So we're all members of a little group, and a bunch of us stayed friends and have our own little chat. He called me and said, let's have dinner at my office in a sushi restaurant downstairs. Sat down with him, and he invited our whole crew, and everyone bought 2 suits each at $2K, like 9 guys.
Wow.
So that's $36,000 right there.
Get you off the ground.
get you off the ground. And that's the thing, like they always say, your family for finances, like if you can, close individuals, and then banks, et cetera, right? That's how most companies finance like startups, etc. And
Yeah.
People will do it if they believe in you and you have a goodness of heart and spirit. And little things like that were instrumental in being able to bring, at that time, the Dirty Ink to life.
Yeah.
So very blessed and grateful for the friends that you have and the friends that you make. So
Yeah.
it's all like your daily relationships, from flipping burgers to McDonald's. A couple of guys from there that remember me have become clients.
Wow.
They still hit you up on Instagram from the hood and be like, "Yo, Socks, one day when I afford your shit, I'm gonna come down and see you, bro."
Yeah.
And when I was buying a lot of shoes, the guys at Livestock, whenever like there's a release, they'll be like, "Socks, if you want this release, just come through and pick it up in your size and bypass."
Wow.
And etc. So
I mean, that has to be your number one skill set is relationship. Like even with me, it's like you said, we can go months, years without talking, and then when I see you, it's like I saw you the other day.
yeah, that's love for certain people, people that have love for you, and
Right.
make sure you nurture and care for that, even on a,
Yeah.
always be the first to say sorry. Sorry, I was surfing the net and you couldn't get through to me.
So you launched the Dirty and you rebranded. Talk to me about the rebrand.
It's kind of like I did 5 years under the brand The Dirty Ink, and Dirty was, if people don't know, it's simple. Like in the hood where we grew up, if something was fresh, if something was fly, we'd be like, "Yo, that's dirty."
Oh, that's
And
dirty.
so dirty was like a play on words at that time. Yeah, to say, "Yo, dirty" means the outfit, the fit is on point, the color blocking on point, the execution on point.
Dirty.
Um,
Dirty can also mean clean.
Yeah, and super clean, right? And but at some point, it kind of lived its life, because I don't know if it was because I turned 40 or my boys or everything like that. There was three main arguments to it. One, a small percentage of people didn't want to wear the dirty label in and of itself. I'm not passing judgment on it, I'm not saying, but I am acutely aware of it.
But
And
they
I
thought it
felt
was
like
like too hood or something.
too hood, or like I go in an office with these guys at the oil fields and they don't understand this, and then I have this big dirty tag, and you see that in their face, you can read it, and it is important to some, and I get that, because we all um, don't vibe a certain way,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. That
we're
makes sense.
all vibing on like style, right?
Yeah.
So and we always say, what's the difference between like a Briona suit and a super high end, like a well made article style suit? Literally just the tag.
Right.
So the tag is just important, right? And I'm
Right.
giving you props there. You know what I'm saying? So it's the tag, and I felt like it was time to change the tag, so to speak.
Yeah.
In that regard, we did have quite a number of problems from a spiritual point of view from another website called
Ah,
thedirty.com.
that's right. You mentioned
So
that to me. That's
yeah,
right.
so um, you guys can look it up. It's not a really good site, and a lot of people were emailing our company asking for help to have their posts removed from this website. And a couple of the stories that I got were very, very disheartening. And
You didn't want to be associated with that.
yeah, even on a subliminal level, even on like a earth feeling vibe kind of level, I didn't want to be associated with that, because it just wasn't good.
It was
You
negative.
get this email. This one girl was like, "You know what, man? My family found I did something, and thereafter, like,
Right.
just bad vibes,
Just negative
right?
shit. Yeah.
Negative shit." So it got to a point where like there was one week I got like 9 of them. I was like, "Yo, can't."
Wow.
Can't. But I mean, it also drove a lot of traffic because of there's a lot of that, and I thought it was just time. It was time to grow up, and it was time to like, as we segmented our product offering as well into a semi-hand and a full hand make. You got to be honest with yourself in terms of like how you want to live your life, how much you need to live the kind of life that you want, and also what you want to wear and be proud of yourself. So we've always sold handmade garments, but not a large percentage per se,
Mm-hmm.
because of that branding issue, this, etc. So in order to capture more of the market in the upscale space, I thought of something. I wanted to have something that was rich and something I was proud of. And it's easy to be proud of something that has your kids' names on it. It's a legacy product for them. So that's why I did that. So now we have a full true bench-made range for the luxury end segment. And then we have our semi-handmade segment of the garment that captures, the premium market space of made-to-measure custom suiting.
Yeah.
So it's a very simple product variety. We're not competing with some of the more mass, lower entry brands that price themselves between 5, 8, 900. We have a minimum threshold and onwards, but that's because we project this type of lifestyle and this type of garment that reflects that lifestyle.
Got it. So, how do we find you? I'm a customer in Toronto. Coming to Toronto. How do I hit you up?
Yeah, so we have our address on the web. I'm gonna pick up my phone for a little bit. So we're actually in our beautiful. Oh, I almost lost the coffee there. In our beautiful studio. There's my assistant,
Hey man,
etc. Yeah. So and
so I book appointment. It's appointment only, right?
It's appointment only, as it is right now, because this is a private atelier in a beautiful space. Obviously, especially with what's going on, this appointment. We're a little more unique in that we do book quite long appointments. When you do book a 1 hour, hour and a bit session, there's actually another half-hour buffer added onto that. So there's never any rush. That way you can get into the nitty-gritty and feel like your time is your time.
Yeah.
We do have multiple rooms in the space, so we can service up to 2-3 individuals at a time.
Great.
So in terms of flow, whether we're doing fittings, sales, etc., there's space for everything, while still maintaining that private, intimate experience. And that's kind of like my ethos and always has been. Like, you're always the most important person to me in the room, and that has always been the language that we've used to describe how we operate our business.
Right. So what's the website?
www.augustashley.ca. So we went with .ca to represent that we're Canadian based, and everything is, about what we do is on there. There's a bookings link on there and shows you the times that we're available each day. We work Wednesday to Saturday in Toronto. We just recently opened and finished up our office in Cancun.
And really?
So that's 4,000 square foot of marble down south in a private enclave. So we're there. The news of it will launch, but we just finished building that. I was hoping to have pop-up in New York done. Most people don't know we have a space that we've got there, and we may or may not launch it now given the current state of affairs, so we might push that off a bit. But in Toronto, we have about 2,000 square feet here. I'll give you a little tour, and you can find us easily there. We're right in the heart of Little Italy, and the address pops up when you book the appointment with a map and everything. So
I love it, dude. I love it. All right, this was excellent, man. Thank you for sharing your story. Now, give us a little tour, man. Show us some of your favorite garments, your favorite sneakers. I want to see some style.
So, I'll do it with me here. So this is kind of like our main lounge, and everyone working away. Instead, we got some McDonald's for breakfast. I'll kind of turn it like this so you can kind of see. So some of the product offerings in terms of whatnot, structured, neat, etc. Some of the new liners from different suppliers, Cabal, etc. I don't know if you guys can see that. Maybe I should.
Yeah. You can flip it. Yeah, you can flip it.
Let me flip that. So even just on here, 3, 4, 5 jackets, Gucci, Louis, ADT. You might like these. Some of my golf vibes. Just cleaning that.
Wait, those are golf. Those are golf version Jordan 1s.
Yeah, the original Jordan 1s for golf specifically. They're still reselling for almost $600 a pair, and I just leave them in the corner like that.
You're crazy.
Y3 is hidden. More Haslett, JS Vann, Margiela, Marni, Nike. Yeah, this is JS Vann Super from 2018 collection. Crazy. So
you're rocking the fur with the Jordans, dude. I gotta get.
Yeah, so just walk down.
I gotta get my shit back together.
I was blessing my bathroom before you called at the same time. So
close that door.
Yeah, it's all clean and more shoes. So I'm working on a pair of my own custom Oreo 6 Golf. I separated the bottoms from the tops. So those are going to be for golf.
You're putting the golf?
This is just for golf. There's a pair for every day of the month.
So I didn't realize you were such a big golfer.
You can. There's more shoes hidden here. I got this in 8 colors. There's more boxes of shoes hidden here. There's just boxes of insoles. There's more. This hole. There's more golfing in there.
Wow.
And there's more jackets. Some off-white. More jackets. Super more jackets.
So you're wearing a lot of
More jackets.
designer and streetwear day to day.
No, I mean that's just a passion of mine. This is inside our little mini alteration shop at home.
Yeah.
So my tailors come in the evenings and make sure we take care of all the little touch-ups for guys. This is a little peek into some of the things that I'll be making for myself.
Oh yeah, show me your spring fabrics here.
So these are gonna be. This is my shirt and Gurkha pant. So everything's being made into a shirt and Gurkha pant.
Man, that's happening. Like to me, the future of the suit is matching top and bottom. That's not a traditional jacket and trouser.
Well, I've done that for years. If you
You've
know
been doing
anyone
that
says anyone that's doing anything now, I've already done 10 years ago. So, and I have proof.
What's that? Like a chambray kind of denim thing there?
Actually, this is chambray denim, but check this out. I'll open it up. This is not the face. This is actually the face. This is cool. When you see this, that's the face.
Oh, what?
Beautiful.
That's printed?
So it's printed. Look at the detail. So a little blue, a little brown.
I love those colors, dude.
7 ounce. It's a linen wool silk.
Wow.
Beautiful.
And that's going to be a shirt and a Gurkha trouser.
All this is a whole range of shirt and Gurkha. Summer tweed in gray, same way.
How do you find a fabric that works as a shirt on the skin and strong enough for a trouser?
You got to touch. You have to go there and touch and know. Having been exposed to summer boucle tweed, same way there.
Oh, that's nice. Let me see
really
that again.
nice. Like here, look at that.
Oh, that's something similar that we've been using.
Yeah, just
cool.
little bits of everything and whatnot. So I've got more crazier fabrics that these are some of my personal fabrics that I haven't even gotten to making. As you can see from zebra denim, mustard linen,
dude, you're off the wall.
Denim, a little charger box. Look at this. This is my overcoat for spring.
Get the fuck out of here.
Cotton. Yeah, it's a wax cotton.
Where do you even find that stuff?
You travel. One of the unique things about being in Canada is we have a major distribution hub of fabrics in Montreal. So you have clients like Budmark Textiles where, for example, Budmark, what you see on the street, Budmark would have made for you 3 years ago. So a sourcing agent, if you work for like a brand like Article Styles or Gucci, let's say, and they do their storyboarding of what they want to make, they'll go to someone like Budmark and pull all these cards and then order the yardage. It'll get manufactured in huge 1,000-yard rolls. And then it gets sold to them to have their clothes made. Whatever is left goes to auction. And that's what ends up on Queen Street or your little Mood or whatever.
Right.
They're going to the people that are designing it 3 years in advance.
Right. That's why when you go to Mood, it'll say, like, this was Ralph Lauren or whatever.
Yes. So we're going to the people that are making it for Ralph Lauren. And if you're got enough clout, they'll get the tractor and cut 3 yards for you and secretly give it to you 3 years before you see it in the market. So for those people that want to know how to stay beyond the trend, it's a little secret. If you get into one of these fabric design places that make it in advance, you can see what is coming into the world before it's even in the world. So
wow,
it's a little.
Dude, that's a hot tip right there.
That is a hot tip. So
you're giving away your secrets.
To our little summer open weave linen. If you look, see the weave.
That's pure linen.
Linen cotton. It's full stretch.
Full stretch.
Lycra.
Wow.
Yeah, this is a stretch jacket, ticket pocket. And you see that.
Damn, dude, you are.
Here.
I got to get more creative, man.
Yeah, unstructured. This is our little change room / bathroom. We got our little private fitting studio. What's up?
Hey.
And this would be our high-end collection. Cacciapoli, Gourmet, Ariston, Scabal.
The top shelf.
Top shelf, yeah. This is Gourmet XL. stretch.
Little stretch, yeah.
Yeah. Milanese.
Little Milanese buttonhole.
Yeah. And we'll get back and I'll show you where more. That's my little son's room. But so I also live here, and then oh my God, more shoes. Oh my God, more. Oh my God, Alexander.
Dude,
What?
I
Where?
love how
Where? Oh my God.
I love
What
how
is
not
this?
organized they are.
Clean. Oh my God. Oh, what Nikes are these? Actually, I have 4 more closets at my mom's house that are organized to the tilt.
God,
Box and
so
box and
this
box.
is the stuff you're actually wearing and using.
No, this is actually, I had my second Achilles surgery and my foot is a half size bigger. So these are the newest 110 pairs at my new size. So my oldest son is 13. He just recently became a 9.5. And if you follow his Instagram feed, every week he's got a new pair of Jordans on because I've been releasing them from my reservoir. So the big man room.
Yeah.
Not too quick. Look, so my little closet and things like little ties. Oh, wrong one. We got just a couple suits in here right now. Everything's at the cleaners with this whole kind of virus thing.
Yeah.
So organize it from like dry fit shirts to socks to dry fit pants to.
So how much golfing are you doing? You got a lot of golf shoes, dude.
No, I got a lot of everything: football, golf, cycling, you name it. You haven't seen my hunting section.
Dude, I saw the video of you hunting recently.
Yeah, so we hunt about 3 times a year, and we have a professional videographer with us, and we have mic'd up. He makes these little videos for us. He's a friend of my. He's a brother-in-law of my hunting partner.
Okay.
And so it's something just fun for us, souvenir, memories, mementos. But it's another chance to get dressed up, have cool gun bags, more fashion, more clothes. I got different outfits for like turkey shooting, like winter, summer, like.
There is I haven't been hip to this, but there is a big hunting, culture in menswear. Oh, I lose you?
Yeah, you're back now.
People around here are looking for hunting jackets, and they go to the shooting range. And I'd never been exposed to that, but like some of the guys around here, they got the beautiful tweed jacket with the action back with the suede patch. It's cool.
It's one thing to make it; it's another thing to use it.
That's why I don't wear it, because I'm not that guy, you know.
Meaning, like, you really know how these things work in terms of fit and how much ease and allowance that you need.
But how are you wearing Jordans if you don't ball though?
Who said I couldn't ball?
I don't know. I've never seen you on the court.
Just because you don't post don't mean you don't do. You know what I'm saying?
You'll have to prove that to me one day. Put your freshest Jordans on and see if you can get a bucket.
Columbia Force.
Columbia, that's your favorite pair right now?
That's the first pair I dunked in.
You can't dunk. Get the fuck out of here.
So, junior athlete of the year in high school, senior athlete of the year in high school, provincial level volleyball player,
wow.
Captain of the 96 Ontario Summer Games, gold medal team.
What?
Only player under 6 feet, 42-inch vert. No
problem. They let you put the shoes on the trampoline though?
Yeah, I mean, Asians call it rice. We eat rice. So,
That's a video. I got to see that video to believe that.
Yeah, during that time, man, I was super, super athletic. That's what saved my butt in a lot of stuff. Trained really hard. We were very fortunate. I went to a school called Westview. And if you look at OFSA, like our Ontario Federation of Schools, our teams won every year during the time I was in high school. And there was a guy named Carnell who was the long jump champ. And Carnell took me under his wings with a couple guys, Kwame, another guy. And we did what we didn't know then was plyometrics or whatever, like jumping stuff.
Plyometrics, yeah.
Yeah, we were doing all that and training individually to become the best athletes. And I had to, being shorter than everyone else. And that experience of being short at the same, when I was in high school, I was on the bench and not allowed to play. No, well, I couldn't start because there was a guy taller and better, but I kept working, and that carried on over to when I started at my first company in the back, working.
Of course, man, of course. That's why people always want to hire student athletes, you know?
Yeah.
They know how much work it takes.
You know? Yeah, how much work it takes to overcome your personal like things like I don't have the word, but like my height, my stature,
Yeah.
how much work to overcome that. So I had to develop a 41-inch vertical. I
Right.
had to develop better hands and technique than any other guy. And then how skilled do I need to be better than that guy and take his place, and then be, captain of Toronto West, club team, this. I traveled, and that's how I know a lot of the U.S. I traveled what they call the Asian circuit, playing cash ball outdoors,
Cash
outdoor
ball?
fours, volleyball.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so volleyball was my sport in high school.
Yeah.
We'd pay like $1,000 a set, Rochester, Boston, Texas, everyone. So that's why I love being in the U.S. because I've been exposed to it a lot as
$1,000 a set?
a set.
Damn, that is some serious.
USD, not CDN.
That's about 30% more right there.
Well, man, that's a lot of pressure because you got all the gangsters betting on you. You got you got to be able to play, right?
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
didn't matter. You just had to be able to play. So good learnings, man.
You're
Good
good on
learnings.
you're good under pressure.
Generally.
Well, hey man, listen, I'll leave you at this. One more thing you want to share with our readers. What's a motto you live by or something like that? Something to remember this by.
I guess you want a life motto or a fashion motto?
Whatever you both.
Oh man, that's like on the spot. I've got so many little mottos, but
Well, okay,
I always say, you know what? The one thing that I know with absolute certainty is to never be afraid to explore yourself. So I'm not saying about be yourself or this, but to explore who you are and not worry about who you'll become, not this, that, but explore all the different parts of you that make you, and and that's what's going to keep you progressing. That exploration of oneself, and be fearless about it, right? Because like I said, it doesn't matter if someone laughs at you today. Big trend with sneakers in the with shoes and stuff like that. And years ago, I started that trend. I feel had a big influence on it because I kept getting injured. So I was like, well, I need something comfy. But then I got like how many pairs to make sure it rocks with this outfit. And now it's a trend, right? So,
Right.
and that's the exploration of oneself and saying, okay, even though I got hurt, what do I like about things, etc., and do it. Or like, if I want to rock that and wear that, do it, and do it well enough that people will say, yo, that's
Or
you're
long
good.
enough. Or long enough.
Or long enough, yeah. So don't be afraid to explore yourself, man. So,
Dude, that's excellent. This has been a pleasure, man. Thank you so much for taking the time.
I got love.
Yeah, of course, of course. Stay safe out there.
Yeah.
This thing's gonna blow over. We'll be right back to business as usual. Uh, Thanks again, man.
Yeah, appreciate it, Dan.
All right, brother.
Take care of the family too. Poppy, everyone.
Later,
See you,
brother. I'll
boys.
say hi to everyone for you.
All right.
Peace.
See you, brother.